Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Astrid Ask, the second episode. As you can see, I'm here as the natural Astrid hosting here, second episode. I'm really excited about this interview with Ruby Raze, aka Razerpops. Nice to meet you.
Hi, good to meet you.
I'm really excited because the series more than anything is just to highlight women in wrestling, and that's what I'm more focusing on when it comes to love wrestling. So you're the second person I get to interview when it comes to like what their experience is like in wrestling. So I'm really excited, and we also have some fan questions going on. So I'm just really looking forward to what your answers are for these questions. The first one that I had because I watched your YouTube channel, so I was watching a couple of your matches, but I wanted more about your background and knowing that this is the first time you're in Love Wrestling. I figured this will be a good way to introduce you to the audience that we have. So I wanted to know, how did you get started in wrestling though?
So I got started in wrestling probably very differently than a lot of people got started, at least in previous years. I was actually brought into wrestling being trained one-on-one by Tyler Bateman. You may know from the Righteous at Ring of Honor, New Japan. He was actually the original person to train me. I met him while I was doing wrestling photography. So I guess if you want to say how I really got into wrestling, I started doing wrestling photography first. And that was because I was at the time going to school for photojournalism and we had to choose a specialty. And I chose concert and sports. And with sports, I started doing wrestling. But I always loved wrestling. Ever since I was a kid, I loved wrestling. So it was just kind of a nice, I guess, natural progression that I would do it when I was doing photography. And then I got to meet Tyler and he started training me. And then I became a manager for him. And I basically was trained by him for my first 5 years as a manager on the road. So we went to Nebraska, Iowa, Oregon, all these places. And everywhere we went, I'd go and I'd help sweep out the ring or set up the ring, depending on the time we got there. And we'd get in the ring before the show. He would teach me some stuff, taught me like my strikes and everything like that. And then also my manager work. So 5 years of being a manager and training on the road, that was essentially how I started.
Yeah. How was your overall like experience as a manager for him though?
My experiences as a manager for him was great. Originally, it was me managing him, Funny Bone, and he went by Drago then, but he goes by Simon Gotch now. They were a stable called Violence Unlimited, and I managed them for a while. And then when they just kind of went their separate ways, like it wasn't like a breakup or anything, just everybody kind of went their separate ways. I stayed with Tyler, and that's where he was teaching me the most. Being a manager was fun. It was really fun. It was a whole lot of fun. I got to travel. I got to learn. I got to be hated by a crowd. I've had grandmothers threaten my life. I've had to hide inside restrooms before I left the venue because people honestly did not like me that much. But it was great. It was great. Met some amazing people in that time, and that kind of laid the groundwork for what I would do as a wrestler. Like I learned so much in that time. And well, imagine being in the wrestling industry, being ringside, being in locker rooms, and not getting to do anything but listen and learn for 5 years. So that's what I did.
I did want to know that because it's the first time that I get to meet you and talk to you like this. Was there like a particular wrestler that inspired you to get into the business like this?
Yeah. So ever since I was small, I loved Glow. I loved the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. And honestly, it was like the bad girls of Glow. So definitely Hollywood. I loved Hollywood. She's my girl. And then Colonel Nanuchka. I did like some of the nice girls. I liked Americana, Little Fiji, Big Fiji, and all that. But it was definitely Hollywood was probably like one of my biggest inspirations as a child, like as an itty bitty. But as I grew older and I was still watching wrestling, China was one of the ones that she just blew my mind when I saw her. And I saw her in the ring and I saw her tussling with the guys, and she was strong and she was fit. You know, she had this presence about her that was definitely larger than life. Obviously, she was she was China, you know.
Mhm.
But her, I think why I liked her is because the way she was presented reminded me of all the Glow Girls, where it was like we're all about female empowerment, we're all about showing what we can do, we're strong, we're beautiful, and that was China in a nutshell. So yeah, definitely those two.
Yeah, she's definitely one of my favorites too. When I saw that they made her Funko Pop, I knew I had to get it. And I was thinking I need to collect all the ladies because I love watching the ladies wrestle. I feel like no matter who it is, I love seeing all of them on TV somehow because I know that they all represent something different. And it's nice to see like a different message being portrayed by each one of them. And that's
Yeah.
why I enjoy women's wrestling so much. And I knew I had to get her, and I had people like her like recently that I got, and even Asuka. Like I got their Funko Pops because I knew I had to collect them when I saw them. I'm like, any other ladies, I'll definitely get them. And even if they have like a different one, like Naomi has like the glow one for her that glows in the dark. It's
Hmm.
called like the chase one. I knew I had to get it, even though I had the original one because I knew I had to get all the ladies and collect them all.
Oh, you have to. Yeah, if there's any variations of it, you got to get them.
Yeah. I know I saw on your Twitter, but for the people that don't know you, aside from wrestling, what are any other one of the hobbies that you have?
Oh, definitely. Well, I like going out into nature and hiking sometimes, but I'm not like the crazy 16-mile up the mountain. No, I just like being out in nature and going like on these little nice hikes. But definitely into bodyboarding, into surfing, into getting out in the water at any given point. As you see, if you look at my Instagram or if you look at my Twitter, I'm always putting up clips from the ocean or clips from hikes. But definitely boogie boarding, bodyboarding, surfing, love it all.
Yes, I was enjoying some of the clips. That's why I wanted to get to one of the fan questions from Angie. Is Angie71 on Twitter? She wanted to ask, how long have you been surfing?
I actually grew up in the water because I live in Ventura, California, which is oceanside. I could, from my house to the sand, it's like 15, 20 minutes, maybe. Um, Super close. I grew up here, and I remember the first time I was on a boogie board. I wasn't old enough to even be on a boogie board. My dad was riding it, and he'd put me on his back, so I would hold on for dear life as he was riding the waves. But ever since I was a kid, ever since I was a baby, and then I grew up doing it. And then when I started wrestling, I actually stopped doing it because all my weekends, all my time were taken by wrestling. And when the pandemic started and everything slowed down, everything shut down, I told myself I'd go back to surfing. I want to learn to like surf. I know how to surf a little bit. I love boogie boarding. I could do that, but I really want to learn how to surf. I said I'd do it when I couldn't wrestle anymore and couldn't wrestle anymore. So I started learning how to surf, which my brother was teaching me. And then I found my old boogie boards, and then I started buying boogie boards, and now I'm just boogie boarding all the time, like as much as I can. Going on surf trips, I
Yeah.
went to Costa Rica to boogie board there. So honestly, it's been my whole life. But I feel like I just started taking it more seriously when I started like the last 2 years ago.
That's nice. Like I told you, I was on your YouTube channel watching some of your matches, and one of them that stood out to me the most was one that you had with Candace a few years ago. So I was wondering if how was your experience overall wrestling her?
Um, Candace was amazing. So I wrestled her, I think, two times in single matches here in Southern California. Once, probably the one you saw, where it was like a 10-minute, 12-minute match, something like that. And another one that lasted all of like a minute, 30 seconds. So um, she was great. It was nice to learn from her because I wrestled her so young in my wrestling career. Like I got to have singles matches with her. And she's taught me in one match like a lot about women's wrestling because I think her and Lufisto were probably the two like really well-known women's wrestlers that I got to wrestle very early in my career. So between them two, it was amazing. Candace is such a sweetheart. She's so smart and she's so knowledgeable. So it was a great experience.
Yeah, she's definitely one of my favorites. It's one of those people that I wish I could beat her, but even watching her, like I live in Orlando, so being able to watch her in NXT has probably been one of the best things. Seeing her live like that. I remember my brother always mentioned like Johnny Gargano and Candace LeRae. I'm like, I need to see them. I can't say anything because I haven't seen them wrestle, and then seeing her wrestle is like she's so special. I love seeing her in the ring, and now that she's becoming a mother, so it's just incredible to see her journey, how far she's come, and how she's gonna be wrestling after she gives birth to. That's gonna be super interesting to see later on.
Yeah, I think Candace is one of those wrestlers who, when you see her in the ring, this is her at her truest self. Like, you know, I've gotten the privilege to kind of get to know her, hang out with her outside of wrestling a bit. And she is so genuine inside the ring with who she is. Like, you don't get that from everybody. Like, you look at Candace and she's just genuine. I mean, that's the biggest word I could think of, genuine, for who she is outside and inside the ring.
I did want to know, since you've been wrestling for a little bit of time now, what has been like your best experience of wrestling in the indies, like when it comes to like what a fellow wrestler and when it comes to fans as well?
I think with fans, I always remember the children. Like, I always remember the children the most. But there was this little girl, there's a couple little girls up in NorCal that were just gems. And every time I'd come, I'd come out to the ring and they'd run up to where I was. They're like, hi. And there's this one picture I have where I was wearing a necklace. I used to wear a necklace to the ring all the time. I took it off and I gave it to the girl, and someone got a picture of it. And I'm like, oh, my heart. And then down in San Diego, there was a little boy that loved every time I came to the ring. And one of the fans got a picture of me in the ring, like all like, you know, standing up in the corner, and he's like down there and giving me the big thumbs up. And I was like, like that. And, like, children, like, when the way they look at you when you see that, that's like the thing for me. Like, I love that. And obviously because I was like, I'm going to tear up right now. But like, because that's how I was when I was a kid, and I'd see these people on TV, you know, I'm looking at Hollywood and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so cool. But as far as wrestling wise goes, like, I have this experience, you know, I will never forget with Taya. She's going by Taya again, right? Not Frankie. So the first time I went to go wrestle in Mexico, I went to go wrestle for the Crash. And I was in a 3-on-3 match. It was me, Psycho Clown, and Pimpinella versus Cybernetico, Taya, and Mamba. And like, I walked into the Crash, and I'm there by myself. I've never been to Mexico, never been to the Crash. I walk in all alone and walk to the back, and people are like pointing at me, oh, you go this way, you go that way. And I don't know if you've ever been to the arena where the Crash is held. It's huge. It's so big. It holds 5,000 people, and it packs down. So I'm walking through there, and then finally I get to the locker room, and like, all I'm hearing is everybody speak Spanish, and I understand that I am Latin American. I don't speak Spanish. I mean, un poco, but you know, I could talk to people in Spanish, but I can't sit there and like a lot about, So Taya saved my life because Taya, she got to learn Spanish while she was down in Mexico, living there and wrestling there. So she essentially saved my life. I walked in and I was like, I don't understand anything right now. And literally, it was probably 1 or 2 years into my wrestling career. So I'm still super young and I'm still super greeny. And I'm just like walking in with all these people. And I'm like, there's Pentagon, there's Cybernetico, there's all these people. And I don't know how to speak Spanish. I don't know where I'm going. Like, so she saved me. That was one of my best experiences. And she made a friend out of me. Like, she's really nice.
Oh, that's really nice, though. Another one of the questions that I had for you was, what's the best advice somebody has given you, like a fellow wrestler, to you?
Wow. Probably, dude, there's so much. Probably the one, obviously, the eyes open, mouth shut. I mean, I know that's so common in wrestling, but it really is like the pinnacle of what wrestling is. And like I was saying earlier, the 5 years that I didn't get to do anything, I didn't get to say anything. I just had to sit there and just listen for 5 years. I felt like I learned so much. And I feel like nowadays it's one of the ones that isn't really heard by the most. Like, there's a lot more talking than there is wrestling listening nowadays, but that's probably the best piece of advice.
I did want to get to the fan questions. Like aside from Angie, I had Bobby, who we nickname here Dream Match Bobby because he always gives us his dream matches in our chats and our shows. He did want to ask you if you had a dream opponent from NWA or Impact.
I think I got to wrestle the people that I wanted to from there. Like I've wrestled with Kiera Hogan. I've wrestled Havoc. Jessica Havoc was like one of the ones I always got to wrestle, and I've been privileged enough to get to wrestle her twice. So once for Shimmer too. I really want to see that video. Is that Shimmer? Give me that video. I mean, I've wrestled Thunder Rosa. I've wrestled I've wrestled like really a lot of really really good girls, women. Maybe if I had a chance to, I've kind of wrestled them all. I think I kind of wrestled them all, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because I've wrestled Alicia, I've wrestled Kimberly. Sue Young. I haven't wrestled Sue Young. I really want to wrestle her. That would be fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The one I have is from my good friend Gomer. He did have two questions. The first one was, what do you feel you are the best at in wrestling?
I feel like what I feel like I'm really good at wrestling at.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm really good at wrestling to my size. Like I know, and probably in normal life, I probably don't look huge, but when I stand up in wrestling rings against other people, I generally tower over the girls. I'm 5'10", barefoot, so when I put on my boots, I'm even taller. A lot of the girls are like here, like, you know, I'm not super thin. I'm muscular. I'm bigger. I'm thicker. So I think wrestling to my size, I do well at that. You won't see me do a lot of flippy stuff, but when it calls that it's time for flippy stuff, I'll do some flippy stuff too. Like I say that for special occasions, like when I'm wrestling, you know, bigger guys or something like that. So I think that's what I do well at.
Yeah. The second part of his question was, what aspect do you feel like you could improve on when it comes to wrestling?
I think my patience. No, I was gonna say patience because I tend to like get angry quick, but I've done a lot better at that since I've gotten older. In my old age, I don't shake my cane as much. I think I could do better at female wrestling in general because of where I'm from. Because I'm from Southern California, there isn't a whole lot of girls here. So I feel when you say women's wrestling, you're not going to think of me. You're going to think of someone else. You're going to, you know, think of a female wrestler that generally wrestles other females. But because of where I live and because of who I am and what I do, like I am more intergender wrestling. So I'm there wrestling the guys, which is great. It's great for women, but also at the same time too, I feel like that doesn't really help me, or I don't know. I just feel like I should be wrestling more females because it'll be good for women in general. Because when I had those experiences with Candace and Lufisto and stuff, I got to learn more. So I'd like to give back in that way.
Yeah. But now that you mentioned like intergender wrestling, because we've been talking about that a little bit recently here on Love Wrestling, is there anybody like you would like to face in an intergender match?
I kind of this sounds so bad. Like I've kind of already wrestled like all the guys that I wanted to wrestle too. Like I feel like in wrestling I've been so fortunate because things manifest when I say like, oh, I want to wrestle Bad Dude Tito, and next thing you know, I'm wrestling Bad Dude Tito. Oh, I want to wrestle Tyler Bateman. I want to wrestle Brody King. I want to wrestle Willie Mack, and all of a sudden I'm wrestling Willie Mack. Like I've been very fortunate where when I want something, it generally happens. But I think there's two guys. I wouldn't mind wrestling. Definitely Jake something is someone that I would like to wrestle. But the other one, I really will probably be number one, Eddie Kingston.
Oh, that's a good one.
I really
Oh.
do.
Why do I sign the petition for this? I want
Right?
it. Yeah, he's such an interesting character, and I'm Puerto Rican, so just like I feel like recently I've seen a lot of Puerto Rican wrestlers like stand out, and he's one of those people that I like what he represents. And anybody I could see wrestle him, I would love to. So knowing that you want to wrestle him, that's just incredible because I just like who do we contact
Who
for
do we
this? I
talk
want it ASAP.
to? Yeah, there has been a lot of the Puerto Rican representation recently. I'm very fortunate to get to work with some of those guys, Danny Limelight, Slice Boogie, and Papo. Like I get to work with them out here, so that's been cool. Like I just feel like very very lucky when it comes to a lot of stuff for wrestling.
Yeah, that's just incredible. Like that, I know I've been following you for a little bit on Twitter, and that's why when I started the series, you're one of the people that I had in my mind to interview because I wanted to, pick your brain about a couple of things here and there that we don't get to see, or like I haven't been able to see like on YouTube, for example, because obviously I don't live in California, so I can't see everything you've done. So just interesting to see your experiences overall that I didn't get to see online. And get to know you a little bit better, and not only that, but have the people of wrestling know you as well and know the experiences that you had and everything going on in your life. But to end the interview, I just wanted to ask where people can find you, what on social media, so they can follow you in your journey. As hopefully everything opens back up and you'll be able to wrestle soon.
Um, Actually, on that note, you could, as of today, find me as a WoW superhero, which is now on the CW Seed and on Pluto TV. So new episodes are coming out. And that's me. But as far as social media goes, you can find me under the name Razerpops everywhere. That's Razerpops. I'm on a lot of social media, so you just go find me on one of those. Same name everywhere. I make it really easy.
Yeah, definitely. But I want to thank you for coming on with me today and doing this interview, taking away some time from your day to do this with me. I really appreciate it. And just I hope that people get to know you a little bit better and get to see you now on one because I didn't know about that part. So just excited to see that. So I'm just excited for you and congratulations on that too. So everybody that love wrestling here, we have Ruby Raze. So as always, enjoy and love wrestling.